am I old anymore?
All right,
Good evening and welcome to the February 23rd, 2016 meeting of the Township Council. Ms. Marsh.
In accordance with the requirements of New Jersey's Open Public Meetings Act, notice of this meeting was included in the annual meeting notice, which was filed in the office of the Township Clerk, posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, publishes legal notice in the Suburban Trends newspaper, and distributed to all persons requesting notice in accordance with Township policy.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a prayer and a moment of thanks for individuals serving our nation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Most gracious Providence, we ask that you bless this governing body with an abundance of wisdom and understanding, so that every deliberation will result in actions which will promote the common good and the general welfare for all the people of Pequannock Township. Amen.
Amen.
The clerk will please call the roll.
Mrs. Florence Lynch?
Here.
Mr. Phelan?
Here.
Mr. Vanderhoff?
Here.
Ms. Winterfield?
Here.
Mayor Cole?
Here. There are no presentations scheduled for this evening. At this time, we'll move to reports from volunteers. Are there any reports from the volunteers serving our community?
You go first, Nick.
Nick Stefano from the Pequannock Flood Advisory Committee. We just found out last week the new 2016 FMA grants that just became available. And the good news is, once again, they've raised the amount from 150 million to 199. So to me, it's showing me how serious they are about mitigation. They've gone from literally now 90 to 150 to 200. So I just want to touch base with you guys how we stand, because the other part of it is, once again, like 2 years ago, they opened it months early. So now it's March 15th is the opening, and the closing is June 15th. Now I checked with the NJ OEM. Now I know usually they need it to them earlier, but they have not posted that yet. So where last year it had to be in August, they once again did what they did 2 years ago, where instead of opening it in June, it's March. So needless to say, if we're gonna move forward this year, once we got to jump right on it. And just letting you know that the Flood Advisory Committee will do whatever we have to do to go around to all the houses and see, who's interested, and
We did
see where we stand.
We did have a discussion about that, and I'm going to let Dave touch base.
Yeah, I mean, we are well aware that the announcement has been made. I need a comfort level that if we apply for a grant and get a second grant, that we're going to have the resources we need to be able to manage essentially two large-scale overlapping programs and not have a detrimental impact on everything else that we need to do for the community. We have been discussing it at the staff level, and we're going to have a recommendation for council within the next week or so as to whether we think we want to move forward with another application. Once we make that recommendation, we're in good position because we did all that preliminary work leading up to last year. So we're confident that if we determine that it's a good strategic move to do 2 successive years, and that we can adequately manage 2 grants if we're successful, then we will get an application in. But like I said, I need a comfort level that we're not going to forgo everything else that we need to do as a municipality if we're dealing with two potentially $5 million grants.
Right, and also, I mean, would that period of time of actually receiving that money be like 2017, 2019? You know, because it basically seems to be at least a year, 18 months or 2 years out before you actually can start the project.
There's a long lag period, but then the period of time that activity is actually taking place, from bid to contractors doing work to, you know, filing all the paperwork and getting reimbursements, I mean, that's going to be a multi-year period. So if we were successful, even though, okay, maybe we don't start on the first grant until sometime in 2017, then we're starting on the next one 2018, and at that point in time, you're going to have a lot of activity going on, and that's not necessarily a bad thing as long as you know we can cover it.
Right. The other thing that I wanted to touch on is, you know, much like the grant application process where, you know, I said, you know, from the very beginning, you know, you have to hire professional people to do that. And Joe Golden was mentioning about how Lincoln Park got their 5 on the CRS rating. And they hired somebody that got them that rating. I'm not quite sure what he did magically to make that 5 happen, but it's definitely worth looking into, that if there's a particular fee that we have to pay that could possibly make it easier for us to get a much lower rating. I mean, with all the homes that we've got, that, you know, a 5 would be, you know, a 10% difference. So whatever that fee is, to match that to whatever it would actually save the town as far as, you know, insurance premiums.
Our rating is not back yet, correct?
Correct. I just
Well, we're not expecting a 5, but I mean, but
speak for
5 would be
yourself.
great.
Let's-
Well, I mean, talking to Joe, I mean, he'd be thrilled if we got that, you know.
I don't think there's anything magic to what Lincoln Park did. We're doing the same things. Council's been very supportive with providing the resources, and to the extent that my staff and I believe we need resources, we'll ask for it, and we'll move forward.
Supposedly they hired somebody in between, you know, which was,
I'm
yeah,
familiar
which
with what
I'm
they-
sure you know who I'm talking about. So, I'm just saying it's definitely worth looking into. We'll see where we stand, you know, whenever we get our new classification of
You know
what it
when we'll
is.
get our new number?
No.
It's the state.
And Joe's going to be here in 2 weeks to discuss an update to that.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, Nick, if you aren't aware, Joe Golden's going to be giving a presentation to council at the next meeting.
Okay,
So,
great.
In 2 weeks for the CRS reading.
Okay, and the last thing I wanted to touch on, because we had our meeting 2 weeks ago on Thursdays, you know, I was here for the meeting regarding everything with the skate park, and you see a lot of times I'm sitting here. There's a lot I can say. Most of the time I just really sit and listen, and then I digest whatever's said, and I think about it, and is it worth saying something. But what I wanted to do was, after that whole meeting, is I wanted to go back to the spot where they're talking about putting that skate park and looking at that area, because I couldn't picture it, so I wanted to take a closer look at it. And I mean, you know, I was just looking at the spot where the drainage basins is that go into Shady Brook, and I mean, basically the Flood Advisory Committee, the thought of, out of wherever we could put this, to put it there, our initial thoughts are, you know, we're not for that. I mean, anything like that, especially a large nearly 5,000 square foot concrete area being built. I mean, I'd rather see that on the other side of the turnpike. And
Is that you or the committee?
that's our basic initial thoughts on it. Is why we putting it in really what's considered a floodway right now, and why is the Boys Club and Greenview Park so quickly put to the side? And you saw some of those people got up there and said, well, we thought it wasn't a flood zone over there. So, I mean, needless to say, it's definitely got to be looked into a little further, because obviously some of that information is not that clear.
Well, there's a meeting, there's a skate park committee meeting on Saturday at 9 o'clock in the morning if you'd like to attend.
Sure. Yeah, I'm not against the skate park. It's just, I mean, I just think that's a wild spot to put it.
Right, I just want to make sure, are you making a recommendation because the flood committee has made that recommendation, or are you making a recommendation
I
because
did.
Nick made that recommendation?
All I said is that we touched on it, and our initial thoughts is that we're not all for it.
Okay.
So I think,
And this is behind Washington Park Field 3.
right, exactly. It's right where that road goes to the railroad tracks. But if you go over there, Dave, you'll see that's also where those basins go into Shady Brook that leads back into the river. And I don't know. It's just, it's definitely a rough spot to put it, and I'm wondering where, that water would go,
It's not a done deal that.
Oh,
location.
yeah, no, I understand.
We're still in the planning stages.
Hey, Nick, you know what I suggest you do? Maybe since you didn't do anything formally, if the flood, maybe reach out to the flood committee, and if they want to formally put in writing their reasons, or
Yeah,
if they're,
we could do that. Like I said, I think
Make a
we're still in the
recommendation.
early stages of it, and that's why I wanted to just bring it to your attention now.
Okay.
Because like I said, that one new member lives on Jefferson.
No, I know, I
and,
came into that meeting after the budget meeting, and I heard the discussion, and they were
He had
against
his
it.
views about it, but basically, when we have our next meeting, I'll get something more formally.
Might be
But,
too late.
basically, we both touched on it, and everybody was like, what?
I think
so-
Louise is going to mention it too. Is that what you were trying to say, Louise? Yeah, all right, because I came into
All
that
right,
meeting late.
anyhow,
Nick,
that's
there's a
it.
meeting Saturday morning at 9 o'clock if you want to attend.
Okay,
Whereabouts is it?
Yeah, oh, I'm sorry, here.
Up here.
okay,
Sorry, I forgot to add that part there, Dave.
And you can let other people on the flood committee know that too.
okay.
If they want to
All
come.
right.
As they
Thank
talked
you,
about
Nick.
it, excuse me,
You're welcome.
I have a question.
Nick,
Oh, sorry. Nick.
Nick.
As they talked about it, did they come up with any counter proposals that they thought would be good for the township?
As far as the skate park,
Yeah, did they have
Other
any suggestions
locations?
where they thought would be the prime location?
well, the one thing was just mentioned about, the Boys Club, and why Greenview Park was so, quickly switched over, and they seem to have that feeling that
those two spots are better.
that they thought that Greenview Park was more of a flood
But
area.
there's more involved in this than just, it's location, what
Visibility.
facilities are around, visibility. That's why I'm inviting you to the meeting on Saturday, so that you can hear what the discussions are behind
Sure.
this. Not to say that we just said, well, Greenview Park, we're not gonna do it there. There are considerations that go into the whole thing, so please come to the meeting on Saturday.
Yes, yeah, I think I can be there.
Or someone?
Yeah.
Or send somebody else from the committee.
Yep.
You could
Yeah,
send
my thought is really, when it comes to flood control, I mean, it really is every little bit counts. And, that's just another example of, something that wouldn't be in the best interest of flood control,
And here's your time to put your input into it, is on Saturday.
Okay.
Yeah, Nick, I suggest either you or Louise, maybe after this meeting, send an email around to the entire flood committee, say that you gave a quick update at the meeting, let them know about the presentation next week, ask them about, coming to the skateboard park meeting and possibly making a recommendation. Was there anything else? That's really it.
Okay, like I said, I'm not yelling at that, nobody at the flood committee said, no, we're not doing this. I'm just saying our initial reaction was like, why that? Besides everyone else.
All
Thanks.
right, Louise?
Hi, Louise Marchese of 16 Roland Road, recording secretary for the Flood Advisory Committee. Just to clarify a couple of things. Of course, we could do the same thing that Lincoln Park is doing, of course. The other thing is, there will be a letter that's being coordinated about the skateboard park by Robert Corrado, our new member, so he'll be...
Right, he said he was
He'll be
drafting
speaking
something.
on behalf of the committee. Okay, I'm not going to cover the same things that Nick did, but I will mention that Joe Golden and Ray Metzger were at our meeting, and some of the things that they mentioned is there's going to be a giveaway of about 1,000 trees on the first Saturday in May. Trees, the type like a dogwood or a fir type. These are from the Sandy Tree Restoration Program, courtesy of them. And this also will help increase our CRS rating. Also, what was mentioned at the meeting is an apparatus called the Smart Vent. Residents in the flood area, if they built this into their homes, this will also help reduce their flood insurance. As far as flood insurance, another fact that they mentioned is the town residents who pay flood insurance have saved approximately $2 million in premiums over the last 10 years as a result of the CRS rating that we do have. Also, I received today via email the town's newsletter, and I saw in there the article that Joe Golden put in, and it's really something that all residents should read, but especially those in the flood community. It's titled The Floodplain Management Updates, and there's loads and loads of good information in it. The other thing I want to ask you, Dave, at one time there was a paper copy of the newsletter. It was here, I think, in the lobby and also in the library. Are we still doing that?
No, we stopped.
So no more paper. Okay, I just want to check on that. EDC will be meeting tomorrow night, and then the following meeting I'll give you an update on that. And while we're talking about volunteering, I don't think you mind if I mention, Pequannock's Unico is going to have their first taste of the town. It's scheduled for 1 week from today at the Regency from 5:30 to 8. What it is basically is you go there and you can sample food from various food establishments in the area, and music will be provided by Shamrock. Anybody interested, I have email, phone numbers, and what have you. The cost is $25 for adults and $10 for children. Thank you.
Thank you, Louise.
Thanks, Louise.
Any other reports from volunteers serving the community? The next item on the agenda is public comment. This public comment period will be limited to a total of 30 minutes. An additional period of public comment is reserved later in the meeting. Individuals are requested to limit their questions and comments to 3 minutes. If anyone wishes to address the council, please wait to be recognized and come to the microphone and provide your name and address for the record. Anyone? Henry?
Poor Henry. He's been to the mill and back.
What do you do? One hip replacement, one back operation, now on my shoulder separated into a rotator cuff. Henry Samick, 4 Misty Court, Township of Pequannock. The first thing I just wanted to address, the sewage pumping station over by Village Road on the corner of Village, by the diner. Thank goodness that we didn't decide to go out and put the pumping station in the diner's parking lot that was originally proposed. It would have been a terrible site. It would have been a terrible location. And it's bad enough the diner's suffering enough in terms of business. I don't think he would have needed a pumping station in his parking lot. I know, Dave, you and I had discussed this matter, because I know he kind of was against it, and I kind of told him he should be against it because I don't think he'd want a pumping station in his parking lot. And I think he tried to make some kind of a deal or something, maybe with free sewage or something. To tell you the truth, since that thing's going to be in his parking lot for the rest of the entirety, however long that would be, I would think that he would be entitled to free sewage too. Because I certainly wouldn't put up with something like that in my parking lot if I owned a diner. All right, that's the first issue. The second issue is a couple of weeks ago I read in the Trends newspaper about the town acquiring property to the left of the library, the Henning residence. I hope that's still not going to go through. I don't think we need any more non-taxable property in our township. As much as the township needs property, I don't see why it should need property. It's got plenty of empty lots here and there scattered around town. That to me would be just another non-taxable rateable. And we have enough non-taxable ratables that were knocked down along Pequannock Avenue and Riverside Drive. I don't think we need any more, and I think there were a few others that are also going to be demolished that will become non-taxable ratables. The extra taxes now will have to be borne by the remainder of the residents of the township of Pequannock, and I don't think it's right that we go out and knock down a good rateable, and I think what they want to do, put a parking lot in there or something like that?
There's no specific plan for it at this point.
I mean, just to knock down a residence for a parking lot, that's really crazy. What are you going to do, provide more parking for the people to park so they can pick up their children from the middle school? I mean, the whole thing doesn't make any
We
sense.
have no plans for the piece of
I
property.
never heard
at this
anything
time.
about parking.
Well, I'm just saying, I'm just assuming that that's what's going to happen. Now, that's I mean, now right now it's a rateable. You're going to demolish a rateable on behalf of a, what else are you going to do with the building? You can't leave it there as a residence, because if it is, it's still in an R zone, it's still residential, and therefore it would still be maintained as residential property. And I just can't see eliminating a rateable property. I mean, we have enough non-ratables in town, we don't need any more. And I'll be darned, as a taxpayer, if I have to go out and pick up the tab, my portion, to go out and make up for that non-ratable, that will become a non-ratable, let's put it that way. I see it says in contract. Who's it in contract with?
It's in contract with the town.
Oh, wonderful.
We as the council decided it was a property that we wanted to acquire,
And to do what with?
most likely with local open space funds.
And to do what with?
We
It's
felt that it
next
was
to
a
the
key
deserted.
piece of property next to
A public building.
a public building, town park.
First of all, that library that was built wasn't built to contain a second floor. The superstructure isn't there, right, to help to withstand a second floor. You would have to go out and build a first floor structure to be able to hold a second floor. If you expand it, you'd have to expand it outward. How much more are you going to go? I understand you're going to expand it outward towards the turnpike for a children's portion, adding a children's portion to the library. How much more do you have to add? You can always expand out the back because the parking lot seems to be sufficient to handle the people that go there as it is now. Just the parking lot to the right side of the library. You don't even have to go around the back. So I don't see.
Well, the library group is going to come in the end of March, right? The second meeting in March, which I forget the date, but anyway, they're going to come in and present the possible plans of what they want to do with the library.
I understand.
So, yeah.
But I understand the construction of the library too, because I
Oh, okay.
was on the
thought that
council
we
when the
talked about-
library was constructed and designed.
Yeah.
It wasn't meant to hold a second story. So you can't go up unless you beef up the underside.
I don't think anyone's planning.
Nobody's talking about going up.
No, I know, I'm
Oh.
going out. But
Yeah,
I mean,
but I'm just saying, if you want to hear about it, they're going to be here in March with
all
the
right,
architect.
well, hopefully I'll get rid of this
Okay.
injured wing by that
Because the
time.
council hasn't even seen anything yet. They don't know what they're proposing.
But I just can't see, again, another non-ratable piece of property in our town. We have enough non-ratables. And we have enough that the rest of us have to go out and make up for the taxes we're losing on that non-ratable property that was developed by knocking down and demolishing all those homes along Riverside and Pequannock Avenue. And elsewhere, by the way. It wasn't just those locations. And probably there'll be other locations that the residences are going to get knocked down and more non-ratable properties will occur. So that's just my feeling as a resident of the Township of Pequannock and as a former council member. Thank you.
Thank you, Henry. Any other, one from the public want to come up? There being no additional comments, we will continue on with the agenda. Next on the agenda is public hearing on ordinance number 2016-2. Ms. Marsh?
Ordinance number 2016-02 is an ordinance authorizing the acquisition of property by donation from Geraldine Bean Mines, and the property is Block 101, Lot 2.
Are there any comments from the council?
No? No.
If anyone in the audience has a question or comments on this ordinance, please come to the microphone and identify yourself for the record. Is there a motion to adopt this ordinance?
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 2016-02.
I'll second.
Sorry, Jake.
Roll call?
Mrs. Florence Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Phelan?
Yes.
Mr. Vanderhoff?
Yes.
Ms. Winterfield?
Yes.
Mayor Cole?
Yes. Next on the agenda is public hearing on ordinance number 2016-3. Ms. Marsh.
Ordinance number 2016-3, an ordinance amending Chapter 129 entitled Parks and Recreation of the Code of the Township of Pequannock and revising group user fees for Pequannock Valley Park Swimming Facility.
I would say is the Arlington Trends Sunday was seems to be a little off on slightly off.
I noticed that.
The only thing that I had, Dave, was the groups have to pay at the end of each week.
Yeah.
That may be difficult for one of the nonprofits, being that it's volunteers that sign the checks for that group. And
Well, that's not really a change. We put that provision in.
I don't think they did it last year. I think they did it twice. I'm sure there'll be a little wiggle room.
We'll work with our
Okay.
partners
As long as they
in
get
the
paid.
community.
The only other comment I would say is, get the message out to them quickly, as I mentioned the other night. That
They're already advertising.
I know.
Yes.
Is there anyone in the audience that has a question or comment on this ordinance? Please come to the microphone and identify yourself for the record. Is there a motion to adopt this ordinance?
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 2016-03.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Mrs. Florence Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Phelan?
Yes.
Mr. Vanderhoff?
Yes.
Ms. Winterfield?
Yes.
Mayor Cole?
Yes.
I'm not trying to.
Next on the agenda, there's no ordinances scheduled for introduction at this time. The next agenda is resolutions. Ms. Marsh.
Beginning with Resolution 2016-64, authorizing tax office refunds, overpayments, or cancellations. 2016-65, authorizing the tax collector to cancel tax sale certificate number 921. 2016-66, awarding a professional services contract for services related to the Mountain Avenue water storage tank to Crew Engineers in an amount not to exceed $235,000. And Resolution 2016-67, approving payment of the itemized claims as set forth on the February 19, 2016 bill list.
Are there any comments on the resolutions from council?
Yeah, I just have one. Do all our contracts go to Crew Engineering by any chance?
Isn't that funny?
Not all of
I think
them,
it's
but
disgusting.
We did a competitive
I looked at
proposal.
them.
And
There's no other
actually,
engineering.
Joe did a really good job in putting together a as blind as possible competitive ranking system that several of our staff members participated in. All the scores are there. And of the three, there was one who just did not demonstrate
Yeah, I saw that.
an understanding of what we were looking for. And that was across the board. And everyone who reviewed it came to the same conclusion. Of the other two, Crew and Hatchmont, I mean, they ranked fairly evenly, but the cost proposals were really not in the same ballpark.
Okay.
Why
I just
didn't
know
Joe
Crew
weigh
had
in?
mine.
Yeah, why didn't Joe Golden weigh in?
Because he was managing, he's the one who did all of the analysis. So he didn't feel he should be the one both managing the process and ranking. So,
But he's pretty much probably one of the most knowledgeable to be evaluating it, to be ranking it.
well, yes and no.
No?
Because there are components within the proposal that each of us
Have
kind of have
expertise.
it right. You know, Mark is our licensed water operator, so there, in terms of understanding the system, Mark's probably got the edge on Joe. There were some administrative things that I was looking for, and so I think the process worked, and in the end, Joe
Agreed.
said, you know what, that's probably about how I would have ranked it too, so, kind of as a double check, you know, seem to,
Well, is there any way, because the big difference seems to be in phase 3 of the final design, is there anything when you write this agreement with them
Yes.
that holds them?
yeah, and we've, Joe and I have already discussed that. Because of the methodology, part of the process is to look at and evaluate different alternatives. So as part of the proposal, they suggested some alternatives, and in Cruise, they suggested 5 different routes. I think right off hand, we can probably eliminate 2 of those. So while they're providing a price for designing and evaluating 5
All
different
5.
routes, I think we're going to take 2 right off the top, but that's going to be part of an initial sit-down meeting with the successful.
Was that part of why his hours are so much lower than the other?
In the final design component,
Phase 3, yeah.
yes.
Did the other guy have the chance to do that?
But they all took slightly different approaches to the same RFP. And
But did Crew have information?
part of the challenge in this is, you know, trying to evaluate apples to apples when everyone's kind of, you know, engineering design is it's a fluid thing. I mean, you can ask for someone to design a car and you end up with the difference between a Chevy and a Ford, and some people like the Chevy and some people like the Ford. You know, Crew does have an advantage in the understanding of the water system component because they already have water models.
At McDonald, though, if he had 3 and not 5, just like Crew, or is it not? Am I just missing what you just told me? Would they be similar?
No, because they're hourly rates. If you break it down to an hourly rate, Hatchmont McDonald's rate is about 40% higher for similar.
Okay.
Because of the size of the firm, their overhead is just.
Right, I just happen to know, dealing through the TBSA, they use Hatchmont all the time, and they seem to do a good job, so I just.
Oh, the firm.
Right.
They would do a phenomenal job.
Okay. It just seems all our business goes to Crew, that's all.
Should. And did the low bidder, do you think he just lowballed it?
I'll be happy to show.
You probably just didn't
You should see the
understand.
proposals.
Look at his hours, they're way off compared to.
I don't think he knew he was, yeah, I
They didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah, he didn't
don't
count.
think he knew what he was doing.
And I don't think that water systems are their
Specialty.
specialty.
Okay, is there a motion to adopt these resolutions?
Go ahead, Jay.
Go ahead, Jay.
Go ahead, Jay.
Oh, he's confused. Hold on. I moved on. He moved on.
I was reading.
Moved on.
No, I'm bringing them down.
Do you want me to do it for you, Jay?
Go ahead.
Okay, here, Jay, look, right.
I make a motion to adopt resolution 2016-64 through 2016-67.
I'll second it.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Florence Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Phelan?
Yes.
Mr. Vanderhoff?
Yes.
Ms. Winterfield?
Yes.
Mayor Cole?
Yes. Next on the agenda is items for discussion, and there are no items for discussion this evening. Next on the agenda is reports and notices. There's something here from Morris County Freeholders for public hearing on Morris County Solid Waste Management Plan
You want
amendment.
to try to get it?
Dave, do you know much about this?
Somebody going?
Yeah, we hope so.
I know what it is. It's not very exciting.
Do we need to go? Does somebody need to
Does
go?
somebody need to go?
Only if you really have nothing to do.
Is it gonna cost us money? Is it gonna cost us any more money?
Is there one,
No more money than we're already paying.
is there one transfer station out, or they want to do
There's
two?
two.
There's 2 right now.
There are 2.
Okay.
Are sitting in Mount Olive.
No, okay.
Yeah, I read it and I didn't even quite understand exactly what they
Yeah, I
were.
read too.
I thought that's what they said, though. They were going
Yeah.
to 2 from 1.
Yeah, that's why I don't quite understand.
But you're saying they already have 2.
Yeah, no, where's he when we need him? I hate to say we let something go. We haven't seen what's going on.
Well, then somebody should attend.
I don't think this is any more complicated than they're changing the vendor. They have they do 5-year bids like we do for solid waste. So the plan amendment is just identifying their new vendor as JP Mascaro and Sons. That's how I understand it. It's,
But they always had the
So
two
wait.
stations.
for a long time, Waste Management was operating two transfer stations, and now it's gonna be someone else.
Make it sound like something else.
Yeah.
Are we good on that, or?
Yeah,
I think we could reach out to our
yeah,
older friends.
if we have questions, we'll reach out.
Yeah, if you've got specific questions, or I can get you more information, I didn't get any feedback before tonight, so
Right.
I'll be happy to get you more, and if you want to attend, good.
Okay. Dave's like, I won't be there.
All right, next on the agenda is the manager's report. Mr. Holberg.
Initial work has begun on the sewer line extension on the turnpike. Weather permitting, the portion of the project should take about 4 weeks. Final testing and inspection of village area sewer lines will be complete shortly, probably about 2 weeks, at which point the line will be accepted and connections will be permitted. Desnagging of the east ditch has been completed under a joint grant received by Lincoln Park and Pequannock. Revised preliminary flood insurance rate maps will be available later this week. Township representatives will attend a meeting in Morris County next week where the maps will be reviewed with FEMA representatives. I don't know what that means yet. As soon as we find out, I will let you know. There will be 2 presentations scheduled at our March 8th council meeting. The final report of the Martin Berry House Preservation Plan will be presented, and an update provided regarding Township's flood mitigation plan and our CRS rating improvement efforts. Please find a copy of a brochure which has been prepared, intended for prospective and new homeowners in the township, with information about flooding. Our hope is that this information will be routinely distributed by real estate agents to prospective homeowners.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How, are we giving these to the real estate agents, or are they sitting here in this building?
We're going to distribute them to real estate agents who...
Did you decide how you were going to do that?
Right, hold on, let me give some to one that I know.
No, we were talking about this at the board office too. We were trying to figure out, see, we belong to the Passaic County Board though, which is, and I know you really only want to get it in the hands, I guess, of Pequannock.
Well,
Or you can
yeah.
distribute, at least this brochure, but go ahead.
I think initially we were going to distribute a handful to all of the
Offices.
agencies in town
Good.
and those agencies that deal a lot in town. I mean, to the extent that, there are offices of Whitecourt,
Right.
all
Right,
around
and
us,
there's-
anyone could be showing a new home.
Yeah.
It becomes a little bit difficult, but
I mean, there are other offices that sell houses in Pequannock, so that's the whole only thing we were talking about at the board office. If you want it to be distributed on a wider scale through the local board office, through all the members, you could. And if you want to do that, I mean, just let me know. But
I think initially we're going to rely on the local offices and hope that the word is disseminated to all
Okay.
their agents, and hopefully we'll
All right.
catch,
Yeah.
Are these
not
all printed
90%.
up? Are these all printed up already?
We can reproduce as many as needed.
No, I was just curious that.
I have a bunch.
We put when we put our Pequannock emblem somewhere or put something on, I mean, we got all this.
Sure, we can do that.
Yeah. And then whose phone number is that, 185, is that the,
I think that's Ray's. Metzger?
okay. Because to me,
It's his
I
own
like it,
office.
I like it a lot,
Yeah, like,
but it doesn't look official without those other things on there.
How about our, right on the front?
Right, yeah, something, yeah, because doesn't it look like, there's all kinds of people who make up things today,
yeah, all right.
Okay.
So kind of just, yeah, that's the only thing. I think the information is great, and it does need to get out to everybody who's potentially going to buy one of these properties.
I think the intent of leaving that back blank was so that it could be mailed also.
Okay.
Well,
But
we
just
can
on the
have the
front.
logo, there's no.
Yeah.
Next on the agenda is council reports and announcements. Councilwoman Florence Lynch.
Well, I want to thank Louise and Nick for coming up and making my job easier and giving the flood update, so that's good. And I think Louise also mentioned tomorrow is our Economic Development Committee meeting. The only other things I have are just really announcements. And I mentioned before that the library board's going to be here next month giving a presentation. Have all you guys responded to the Pequannock Girl Scouts? We got an email on that. There's a ceremony on Sunday, March 6th at 3:30 in the sanctuary at the First Reformed Church. And then a reception follows in Grace Chapel. I think we all got this email on February 11th. So if you haven't responded, just shoot Diane Tucker a reply on whether you can go or not. And if no one else, for some reason no one's going, I'm going to be there, so I think we should do the proclamations and stuff, right? That we normally do. Don't you? But
Silver?
I think what they do is they do all of them. Girl Scouts only does it once a year, and they do them all. So I don't know if you want to reach out, Dave, or if you want me to reach out, but you could probably get the list of the award names, the recipients, so we can be prepared. But that was the one. It was just a simple email that just said March 6th, but I didn't want to forget, so I brought it up. Also, the Suburban Women's Club of Pompton Plains is holding a Tricky Tray on Wednesday, March 9th. And it's actually at the Crown Plaza in Fairfield, so if anybody wants to buy tickets, there's information on here. I figured I'd just tell people that. And a St. Patrick's Day dinner dance is being held at the Knights of Columbus on March 19th from 7 to 11. If anybody wants more information on that, I think these are all up on Channel 77, but I figured I'd mention it because some people asked me if I'd mention it. And that's all I have.
Melissa, if you can reach out to
Diane?
Diane and find out the names of the...
I'd be glad to. Okay.
Great. So you'll give that information to Carol.
Uh-huh.
All right, Councilman Fallon?
The only thing I have is a reminder that the First Day Squad has their casino night this Saturday, starting at 6 o'clock. And I think a couple of council members have indicated that they were going to go.
Yeah, do you guys want to go? We'll get the table. Can you go?
I'm sorry, there's mumbling on that side of the...
I was asking if anybody wanted to go.
Oh, are you asking us, or are you asking out there?
I was asking if
Everybody.
we wanted to get a table.
You're
Everybody.
going to be away, right?
Yeah.
Kathy's going to be away.
Yeah.
Nick, you'll go?
I'm done.
Okay,
All right,
we'll see you
let's
then.
do it.
Yeah, I'm coming with like 3 people.
All right, Councilman Vanderhoff.
Nothing other than at the county league meeting the other night, we got word that the freeholders are facing quite a substantial tax increase, but they're working on it to get it down. But the years of zero tax increase for the county is gone. So
All right,
they are working on it.
Councilwoman Winterfield.
The only thing I have is, you wouldn't know it from tonight, but we had a really beautiful weekend. And I was out with my neighbors, and who flies over but the helicopter. And so we were going to have a meeting with him, weren't we?
Yeah,
So,
so-
I mean,
Not that there's anything that can be done.
well, he's pretty much, I think he's in violation. I think he's pretty much touching the treetops, And if he can shake up his mix a little bit, if we can just make a request with him, that would be great. Even if every other time he went a different way, instead of the same pattern all day.
Can they change patterns?
Not the approach pattern.
No.
Well, this is more than that. This
Some
isn't
of my
the approach.
houses-
This is the circle. This is the training of the helicopter people. This is really, it's a real nuisance, and it's really loud. And I believe, based on what I've read, based on that study, that he's in violation. And I'd like to just, we should chat with him. We may get nowhere, but if we play nice.
Let me set up a meeting with you and a couple other pilots that I know before we.
Okay. They can come over my house. We can have coffee out on my deck on Sunday morning.
Actually, Dave, I would like to be at that meeting too.
Sure.
Please.
Mm-hmm.
To hear what they would say.
Anything anything else?
That's it, thank you.
I really don't have much. I missed the last meeting. I was a little under the weather, but this past Saturday, I monitored a League of Municipalities meeting. Our own Dave Holberg was one of the guest speakers, along with Jason Gapwell. He's the CFO from Milburn. It was very well attended. It was down in West Windsor, and everyone that I talked to loved the presentation, so David did a great job on that.
So I keep saying we got the best.
Next on the agenda is public comment. If anyone wishes to address the council, please wait to be recognized. Come to the microphone and provide your name and address for the record. Come on up, Henry.
Henry Sam McFormisty Court, Township of Pequannock. And I didn't realize that this resolution was on the agenda about awarding that contract. You know, I have a story to tell you, but I won't mention the names of the engineers, okay? When my son's house was being built next to me, there was a ditch that I wanted to fill in with a pipe, okay? So the same two plans that were designed by the engineer that I hired were reviewed by another engineer. All right, the township engineer also at the same time reviewed it. Right? Now this other engineer reviewed it for 2 years, talked to the same health officer 3 times, the same construction official 3 times, the same township engineer 3 times, and his bill was like 4 or 5 times what it should have been. I had to go to the Board of Appeals of Morris County for the Construction Board of Appeals to appeal the money that I was taken out of my escrow account by this particular engineer. Okay? Well, I found out later on, because the township engineer gave an approval in November of 2004. 2006, I finally get the approval from the township engineer that's dated November of 2004. Meanwhile, this other engineer kept taking money out of my escrow account, reviewing the same stinking 2 plans that I know about, because I know how to read plans, okay? I know how to design and engineer. I know better than engineers, by the way. Right? That's why I went to the Morris County Board of Appeals. And I won. And he had to pay the money back. And to one attorney's remarks, I've never seen him pay any money back to anybody ever. But you got to know what you're doing. You got to know who you're dealing with. And I'm really surprised that you just go ahead. Just give it to him. You know, just go ahead. You know, no big deal. And this is what's wrong, okay? The same time, over and over and over again. $600,000 sewer contract, right? Malcolm Pierney did 5 different sewer studies. They may have cost us $100,000, but no, we had to go out and give it to somebody for $600,000. There's something wrong. Thank you. Oh, one more thing. Another non-taxable rateable is the Martin Berry house. Helen Bogart's house. Right? It's fine. Just keeps throwing our money away. Just keep throwing it away. You know, the museum over by the railroad tracks that the kids vandalized, the pole lights over there, vandalized at the museum. What are they going to do? Vandalize the Martin Berry house? You know how much money it's going to cost, by the way, to do electrical, you know, rewiring and other things in that house? Did you find out what it's going to cost yet?
We're going to find out at the next meeting.
Yeah.
Come to the
Well, maybe you should have found out before you invested in the house.
We didn't buy it yet.
Well, hopefully you didn't. But I would, because I had some dealings in the Township of Union, right, over on, what the heck was the name of the street? It was a museum over there. I can't remember the name of the street now. But I had some dealings over there where we were getting ripped off in the Township of Union when I was the electrical subcode. Thank you.
Any other comments from the public? Are there any items for a closed session, Dave?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Is there a motion to approve the resolution authorizing closed session?
Sure. Me.
Sure.
I'll make that
All right.
Second.
At this time, the public portion of the meeting will be recessed for closed session.